All right, guys, let's talk about my favorite member of Congress, Congressman George Santos of New York's 3rd Congressional District. Mr. Santos has, of course, been caught and admitted at this point in any number of lies. You literally can't even keep track of all of them. The latest one, which I love, is he apparently lied to like a local Republican official in New York. The guy was like, oh, I'm into sports. And Santos was like, I was a championship volleyball player when I was at Baruch College.
Impressive.
Number one, he didn't go to Baruch College to start with. And number two, there's no signs he's ever played volleyball. So anyway, that's my latest amusing George Santos lie that has just been revealed. He is facing increasing calls for his resignation, specifically from other New York elected Republican officials who, you know, feel burned by this guy, I'm sure, and also feel like, if you're not in Congress, if you're like the local executive and you've got to deal with this dude for anything, I'm sure you're really not super happy about this situation. So anyway, Santos in Congress yesterday getting cornered by reporters, having to have his like little bodyguard try to fend them off. Let's take a look at that.
You're accused of fabricating almost every single part of your life. Why did you deserve to represent people in New York?
Through the way.
Did you illegally?
Mr. Santos, there's some campaign finance concerns and questions about your finances.
Really?
Can you answer the
you guys
campaign
give me a
finance
little
concerns?
personal space, please?
A little personal space?
Why won't you answer our questions,
Congressman, you seem to be dodging
Don't the American
questions
people deserve
about
to
your
know instant
finances
answers?
and about your background.
Congressman, what about those new accusations?
Also, who is still willing to work for this dude?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know who that guy is. There's some question about he might have been working for Madison Cawthorn's office previously.
That's quite a resume. This
He
guy's
really knows how
building,
to
if
pick them.
that's right.
I mean, look, money's money. You know, some people need a job.
Some people just like being in the middle of the action, no matter what that action is.
Here in
He's
Washington,
certainly a center of attention right now.
Here in Washington, you can work for a liar, for a cheat, and not only do you get rehired, you get promoted. So,
True.
you know, if anything, I admire the chutzpah. But as you said, Krystal, he's facing calls from his own local Republican Party officials for him to resign. And that's probably the most scathing, and also the direction which Kevin McCarthy and House leadership are all looking towards. McCarthy said yesterday Santos will not serve on any of the flagship committees while he's
but he's still giving him committee assignments. He's
That's
just
right,
not
that's right.
giving him the choicest committee assignments.
Yeah.
So
the
he's
caveat.
standing by his man ultimately. And Santos voted for him in all 15 rounds, and they have a 4-vote majority. So
needed the vote.
there's a lot of political calculation going on here with Speaker McCarthy. But we did pull some of the criticism from local New York elected Republicans, which, I mean, they really did kind of go in on him yesterday. So let's take a listen to a little bit of that press conference.
George Santos' campaign last year was a campaign of deceit, lies, and fabrication. He deceived the voters of the 3rd Congressional District. He deceived the members of the Nassau County Republican Committee, elected officials, his colleagues, candidates, his opponents, and even some of the media. His lies were not mere fibs. He disgraced the House of Representatives, and in particular, his fabrications went too far. Many groups were hurt. Specifically, I look at those families that were touched by the horrors of the Holocaust and feel for them. He has no place in the Nassau County Republican Committee, nor should he serve in public service, nor as an elected official.
And I believe that gentleman who was speaking there is the sort of the executive for Nassau County. And he's also said, listen, I'm just not going to work with this guy. And he's come up with an alternative plan because obviously the local county executives, they have to interface a lot with their federal counterparts, especially with regards to constituent services and getting their issues resolved. He's like, I've already worked out a plan with the other members of Congress that represent this county. He's a Republican, but he says, I have a good relationship with Chuck Schumer. We've already got a plan so that constituents aren't going to have to deal with this man. And I'm not going to deal with this man because how can you work with someone who has literally lied about every relevant fact in terms of his biography? And, you know, the political calculus for these folks is a lot different than the political calculus for a Kevin McCarthy, which we just laid down. He's very interested in having a majority and having as big of a margin as he possibly can, having only those 4 votes to be able to work with and deal with here. For these guys, you know, this is a swing area. Voters are clearly not impressed with this man. They are, I'm sure, on a personal level, like, what the hell? This guy lied to us to our face. And so they have a very different political calculus at play here, both on a sort of like personal animus level, but also in terms of them being able to hold on to their own elected positions and not be tarred with, you know, all the lies and all the ridiculousness of George Santos.
I'm sure people are furious. And Santos, I mean, the guy guy, he just will not let up. He tweeted this after the call. I was elected to serve the people of New York's 3rd District, not the party and the politicians. I remain committed to doing that and regret to hear that local officials refuse to work with my office to deliver results to keep our community safe and lower the cost of living. I will not resign.
I mean, he
George
probably
Santos
needs the
says.
cash from this position.
Yeah,
the reality.
It's very possible. I don't really, with arch narcissists like this, it's just very difficult to see like how much they're willing to understand, what they're willing to compute. I've talked about the Fire Festival guy, Martin Shkreli, people like that. Just people, they seem to have an almost pathological need to obfuscate the truth or to always have like a last-ditch gambit where they can get themselves out of it just this time. You know? And that's what really comes through with Santos. These type of fraudsters are so remarkable. Like when you look at SBF actually being another one where,
that's true.
even today, SBF, literally while you were talking, wrote a whole blog post. He's like, I didn't steal any money. I still don't know what happened with it. It's like they have to cling to this. There's a lot of similarities, between all of them. And one of them is that they all appear to reach like high status in America, which is even crazier.
I mean, there are some benefits to being able to be like pathological in that way and assert it with such confidence. And you can see, I mean, in this case, listen, there are plenty of politicians, including the current president of the United States and former president of the United States, who have lied, stretched the truth, made up anecdotes. I was thinking too about Kamala Harris and her whole like freedom story that she invented out of whole cloth. So like politicians making up anecdotes and embellishing their resume, whatever. None of that is new, okay? But the fact that seemingly every detail of his biography was just completely fabricated, and the shamelessness with which he was just willing to tell whoever was in front of him whatever they wanted to hear, like that's what makes me laugh so much about the volleyball thing. Like some random dude expresses some sort of like vague interest in volleyball, and he's ready to go with, oh, I was a volleyball champion at my college that I didn't go to, and we won the league championship. I mean, he invents all these like super specific details about what rank he was in his class and all of this stuff. It really, really is remarkable to me. I just am fascinated by the mind and sort of like horrified by the whole situation. In terms of his future, right now, Kevin McCarthy is standing by him, not pressuring him to resign, giving him committee assignments. At the same time, he has some serious legal questions that he's going to be facing. It's not illegal to lie to voters about your resume, but it is illegal to lie to the Federal Election Commission about the source of your campaign cash. And obviously, there are some big questions about how exactly he ended up being able to contribute $700,000, I think is the number, of supposedly his own money into this campaign, when very recently his income was relatively low. He was getting, kicked out of apartments. It looks like the campaign may have financed his own living situation during the campaign, also illegal and also something he lied about. There's a lot that's really fishy in terms of his campaign finance report. Like, there's this rule that you have to have receipts for any campaign expenditure $200 or over. So they have all of these expenditures that are like $199.99. I mean, just the sketchiest possible stuff. And there are already inquiries into that. It looks like the Congressional Ethics Office, they've received formal, requests to investigate him as well. So they may be looking into it. But he could be in some actual legal trouble here. Even if, there's no mechanism to force him out of his seat, the most they can do is basically what these New York Republicans did yesterday and try to completely ice him out. But if he refuses to leave until the next election, there's not a whole lot you could do about it.
We've had this happen before. We should all remember it. We've had people who have been literally indicted and have not only gotten away with it, who got reelected. So look, I personally put my trust in the people of New York's 3rd District. I think they're probably rightfully outraged at this, and it's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. And this is a swing area. I guess the last thing that I was thinking about with regards to this is we've talked about the failure of the media to pick up on any of this. We've talked about the failure of the Democratic Party to do any basic opposition research, instead focusing on like whatever he said about January 6th versus the fact that he made up every significant part of his life. But there's also like the Republican Party.
Oh, I agree.
Didn't do a single bit of vetting on this dude. And the thing that's confusing to me as well is this is an area which, as you can see, there are other significant, well-known Republican elected officials. So it's not like there's nobody home in terms of Republican Party's quite well organized, funded, et cetera. And this was a seat that was well in play. It was a slightly Biden district, but that's exactly the kind that Republicans were expecting and hoping to pick up this year. So you didn't field anyone in the primary other than this dude, and you didn't check this dude out at all. So sort of party failures, institutional failures all around with this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.